Hey everyone, I'm Jo Muirhead and this is the Entrepreneurial Clinician podcast. Well, welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Clinician podcast. And here is an interesting question for us to ponder this week. What do you feed a $1 million racehorse? Well, when you think of a $1 million racehorse, you think of an asset, an investment, something that's going to create a return. After all, you're not going to purchase a $1 million racehorse and stick it in the paddock down the back and just let it live its life, right? You're going to want to stud it, or you're going to want to race it, or you're going to want to do something with this asset to allow you to get a return on your investment. Now, this is not my original question. This question popped up in my news feed by naturopath Jen Jeffries, and she's got a fantastic platform as a naturopath here in Australia. And she asked this question, and I literally stopped my scroll. I heard her ask the question and I went, oh, heck, that's powerful. Because what she helps us understand is that we are the $1 million racehorses. And I have been coaching clients again this year and for the last 12 years. And what I notice we are exceptional at doing as health professionals is living off leftovers. When everybody else has been taken care of in our businesses, with our clients, in our families, then we will be looked after. Then we've got the time and the energy and the resources for us to look after. It is the antithesis of the messages of self-care that we are giving ourselves or memeing or telling our clients to do. We will be the last person in our business to get a salary increase. We are often the last people and get the leftovers of any time available to take off for annual leave or holiday or paid time off during during the year. We will often pick up clients that nobody else wants to work with, or when there is no more human resource in the business, we'll just step in and do it, even if it's work we're not good at or work that doesn't bring us joy, because that's what we do. We step in, we get it done, and we continue to feed ourselves the leftovers. We are often fatigued. We have poor sleep, and because we're fatigued and sleep deprived, we've often got poor nutrition, because who the heck can be bothered making sound nutritional choices when all I want is just the chocolate and the carbohydrates and the caffeine and the sugar and the things that are just going to make me feel better because I'm so freaking tired. Yeah, I know this story. So we fill ourselves, when we are most depleted physiologically, we're filling ourselves with artificial stimulants. And this might be the way that we work, the adrenaline and the cortisol we're pumping through our bodies, maybe the sugar that we're consuming or the caffeine we are consuming. It's often a lack of water. It's often a lack of sleep. And it's often a lack of nutritional choice. Now, I am not judging anybody here. I am speaking to myself. I know this pattern. I am awesome at getting to a Thursday afternoon and needing my switch off time to be on the couch watching yet another episode of something from an NCIS, eating a bag of potato chips. Like, I am talking to myself here. I get this. But what we don't understand is that in this day and age, we are using our brains, and we're often talking about brain fog and brain fatigue and in terms of burnout or post-viral fatigue, or just how fatigue turns up for us. We're noticing it a lot in our heads, but a lot of the work that we do requires us to use our brains, whether it's regulating emotions all the time, or we're thinking and planning and strategizing and thinking and planning and listening and attending. And there's a lot of executive function going on all the time as a health professional. Yet our frontal cortex is the most energy consuming part of our brain. And our brain uses 20% of our total energy needs for our body. So that tiny, relatively tiny, or by comparison, tiny organ on the top of our head is using 20% of the energy produced or needed by our bodies. That's a lot of energy. So now your 3 p.m. slump where you need some sugar makes a lot more sense, because you're needing those sugars to be able to keep your brain functioning, to be able to keep doing the work that you're doing. So we are literally putting into our $1 million asset, because we are that asset. We have the ability to produce wealth. We have the ability to serve all our clients. We have the ability to grow a team, or create new products, or create new services, or lead groups, or build an empire, or create real estate opportunities for ourselves, or create licensed products, create franchises. We can do all of that. But we're trying to ask ourselves to do it on leftovers that don't have a lot of the really great nutrition that we need to be able to fuel ourselves, to put ourselves in the best position to be able to make these decisions or these choices. Ouch, I don't like this conversation, because I really, really enjoy being able to go, I'm too tired, I'll think about it tomorrow. But I can assure you, as somebody who has fought breast cancer, is now in her 50s, I'm a little bit conscious that I don't have as many tomorrows as I once did. But this asset, we as $1 million asset in our business, we don't just consume food and water. This is also about what we hear. What are we listening to? What podcasts or music, or where else are we consuming things that we hear? Are we consuming the sounds of silence? Are we consuming nature? Or have we always got chat going on? Are we always so busy trying to learn? We've got podcasts going on, or audio books going on. We're trying to consume. What are we putting through our ears? But then what do we also see? What are we watching? What are we watching on social media? How are we consuming our news these days? How are we keeping up with current trends in our industry? Are we learning by memes? Has that become the new educative tool? A 90-second meme or a 90-second reel? Is that what we're constituting as learning? Is that what we're trying to consume? So it's not just about what we put in our mouths, it's also what we hear, what we see. And then what are we saying to ourselves? We're asking our brains to do all of this incredible work so that we can help people heal and fulfill the calling that is on our life. What are we saying to ourselves? How much of that negative self-talk, unwise self-talk have we got going on a loop inside our heads? I know my loop is often very difficult to turn off. Scratching that record, which is why I use a tool like the Book of Evidence that I created, because that has been an incredibly empowering tool for me to be able to change the language that I'm using when I speak to myself. Otherwise, I would spend all of my days telling you and telling anybody else. I would apologize for my existence. I would tell you that I'm not good enough, and I would continue to overfunction in a way to prove to you, which is really myself, that I am good enough. So what am I putting inside of myself? How are my senses taking in that information? And how am I taking care of the most important asset in my business? So if we think about this $1 million racehorse, we're not going to put it in some stable out the back where it's drafty and cold and where it doesn't have something nice to sit down on or lie down on or whatever a horse does. We're going to give it something that's comfortable, that's going to put it in its best condition, that's going to allow it to do the things that we need it to do to help continue to thrive. Because nobody wants to buy $1 million asset and 2 weeks later it be too ill to be able to fulfill the job that it was intended to do. I was so confronted by this question that it really got me thinking. And it's one of the reasons why I ran the Energy Activator workshop again, was because we really need to get this inside of ourselves. So it's not only what we're consuming and what we're hearing and what we're seeing and what we're saying and how we're learning, but it's also how do we rest and replenish? because you're not going to put $1 million racehorse to run a 4,000 meter or 4 kilometer or a 4-mile race and then back it up the next day with a 10-mile or a marathon or whatever it is we ask horses to do. Yet we are continuing to ask ourselves to run a marathon. I now call it a decathlon because I do think we're jumping through hoops and over high jumps and putting out fires more often and more frequently than we ever have. So not only do we need to be looking at our physiology, we need to be mindful of our psychology and also our sociology. Because even when we're completely isolated and alone, we have created an unhealthy sociology. I see everybody being so keen to find the next hack for efficiency. Look, I don't think the right time for efficiency is now. I think COVID showed us that efficiency we're done with that for a while. What we're really seeking is how to make ourselves more effective. What do I need to do to be able to have the type of lifestyle that I long to have? Because if we are truly looking to be able to seize the next entrepreneurial opportunity, we need to have energy to do that. It's no good walking away from a fantastic retreat or mastermind full of ideas in the moment and then having no energy to execute. If we genuinely want to create new goods and services and genuinely want to be able to take our healing to the people who need it, we need the energy, the time, and the resources to be creative. We can't do that if we feel sick all the time. For us to be the most effective we can be, then we really need to examine how we are caring for the most important asset in our businesses, and that is us. Whether you're a private practice owner with a group practice, it's you. If you're a solo practitioner, it's you. If you work for somebody else, it's you. I don't think I can harp on this much longer. So my question to you today is, what are you feeding the most important asset in your business? Hey, Jo Muirhead here again. Thank you for watching this episode of the Entrepreneurial Clinician. It has been great to share guests, new information, and new ways of thinking with you. I trust that this episode today has inspired you and has helped you to reconnect to your sense of purpose as a health professional and a clinician. Before we move on, just want to remind you that these sessions, these episodes, are provided for educational purposes only. Nothing in these episodes is designed to be treatment specific or a specific recommendation about your health, your wellness, or your finances for your situation specifically. If you need assistance in any of these areas, please reach out to an appropriate professional for you to be able to access the help that you need. If you have enjoyed these episodes and would like to see more, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure you leave me a comment below. And I look forward to bringing you more great, inspiring stories where I get to learn just as much as you do. Until next time, go be your awesome self.